So we're going to do more writing and we're going to look at an alternative way to look up, to look up, to talk about the necklace by Guy de Maupassant and also Nikolai Gogol's The Overcoat. So this is now, we're going to compare both authors. Nikolai Gogol wrote about the class differences in Russia. Guy de Maupassant wrote about the class differences in France. Both authors use the incongruities between being rich and poor. Ironically, each writer used a middle class person to show the contrast. The main character, from Gogol and de Maupassant, both use one night to show the fate of two lower class cultures. And really, I shouldn't say the cultures. It's not the fate of the cultures. It's really the fate of two characters. Okay, and I really should change it to middle class characters because I'm going to change it to lower middle class because that has a lot to do with how they are. And this is a great story, so we're going to change this to like middle class. They were kind of like, they were working class. Matter of fact, that's even better. Let's change it into working class, like a lot of us are. Okay, and working class cultures. Unfortunately, both characters' actions created their denouement, which led to one's death and another one's agedness. When we talk about this, I'd like to look at denouement, means like final action, resolution, what happens. When I learned this word, the French, de anything means to go down. That's just what French is. And sometimes in literature, that's not how it's used. So it's their denouement, which led to one's death and another one's agedness. The reason I'm using this term, in the text it comes out and it says she aged. She went through a lot. And this was Madame Mathilde Loisel who aged. And something happened in the story, and we'll read it later to show what happened. So Guy de Maupassant's Madame Mathilde Loisel despised her status. Therefore, she borrowed a necklace from a friend, believing the necklace to be expensive. Borrowing a necklace did not constitute manipulation or denigration. Rather, Madame Loisel's attitude toward her position caused her distress. Nicole Gogol's laxity caused his death. His inability to tell people that a coat did not change him caused him to listen to people who previously mocked him. The pathos of both characters seem both tragic and individually evoking. We can examine both Akaki Akevich and Madame Loisel from the definition of pathos, which has meant to evoke pity or sadness. Their pathos came from disrespect and difference. Now we're going to go ahead and go on here into Madame Loisel, and we're going to find some words she stated, double quotation written the wrong way because I'm waiting to write something in here. And you all start thinking about as I'm what we can possibly do and what we can do to describe Madame Loisel's action. Okay, so here I've made the changes, and this is working class. And I want you to pay attention to this word and to what I'm saying. I want you to also look at that I use this word here, ironically. Okay, and I said middle here, and then I came back and I said working class here. Middle is sometimes working. Leave it up to yourselves if you want to change that. And let's talk about what's going on here. Borrowing the necklace was not bad. We borrow things from our friends. And as long as when we say borrow, we give it back, it's usually not such a big deal. And let's get into this word pathos, meaning how people think. You get into that speech pathology, how people use speech to think. Pathology is how things work. And then I left commas, they just turned the wrong way. So let's move on. Okay, so we are on Madame Loisel's, and we're going to look for what she said. Let's read this right here. She had no gowns, no jewels, nothing, and she loved, she loved, she had no jewel, and she loved nothing but that. She felt made for that. She would have liked so much to be to please, to be envied, to be charming, to be sought after. Not from a critical point, like a psychological standpoint, but more from like how the character is developing and how you get ready to write. She is trying to be the envy. And sometimes we want other people to be jealous of us or envy of us or want to be like us. We cause our own fall. Okay, now this in and of itself also is the psychology behind her own poverty. Okay, she was just sick of it. She was sick of every level of it and she wished for more. So, this is the classic internal battle characters have, that she's having a battle with how she really is and how she wants to be. So she had a friend, a former schoolmate at the convent who was rich and whom she did not like to go see anymore because she always felt so sad when she came home. But one evening, her husband reached home with a triumphant air and holding a large envelope in his hand. He said, "There," there is something for you." She tore the paper quickly and drew out a printed card which bore these words: "The Minister of Public Instruction and Madame Georges Ramponneau requests the honor of Monsieur and Mademoiselle's company at the Palace of the Ministry on Monday evening, January 18th. Instead of being delighted, as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation on the table, crossly muttering, "What do you wish me to do with that?" "Why, my dear, I thought you would be glad. You never go out, and this is such a fine opportunity. I had trouble to get to it. Everyone wants to go. It is very select, and they are not giving many invitations to clerk. The whole official world will be there." She looked at him with an irritated glance and said impatiently, "And what do you wish me to put on my back?" He had not thought of that. He stammered, "Why, the gown. You go to the theater and it looks very well." He stopped, distracted, seeing that his wife was weeping. Two great tears ran slowly from the corners of her eyes towards the corners of her mouth. "What's the matter? What's the matter?" he answered. By a violent effort, she conquered her grief and replied in a calm voice while she wiped her wet cheeks, "Nothing. Only I have no gown, and therefore I can't go to this ball. Give your card to some colleague whose wife is better equipped than I am." He was in despair. He resumed, "Come, let's see, Matilda. How much would it cost? A suitable gown, which you could use on other occasions, something very simple." And then they go down here. Finally, she replied, hesitating, "I don't know exactly, but I think I can manage with 400 francs. Okay, so $400, she's going to go buy this gown. And very well, and try to have a pretty gown. The day came near. She got anxious. And then she said, "It annoys me not to have a single piece of jewelry, not a single ornament, nothing to put on. I shall look poverty stricken. I would almost rather not go at all." Okay, so now you see an element of her ungratefulness coming in, which is going to lead to her downfall too. But at the same time, she goes to her friend Madame Forestier, and that's here. So let's go back up. We're getting ready to write. And she stated, "I will look poverty stricken. I would rather not go at all." And I'm choosing this word, I'm choosing these words, sorry, because this is written like 18 something. I'm just going to put 1813 now because I can't remember. And there's also a book of this. So this is like about page 5 in my book. But on here, you could put page 1, page 2 for the online source. And, oops, we need a period. Okay, so this now gets into what this does is this statement superseded Madame Loisel's ability to attend the ball. We could even say the occasion, but that's what it is. She displayed a minuscule, I want to use some big words here, amount, it's a small amount of ingratitude. And if you really want to get, she displayed, you could even say she displayed minimal ingratitude. She said or she could say, she appeared ungrateful. The ingratitude caused her to forget about her invitation. You have to look for words like this. The ingratitude caused her to you know how your parents would say don't put on airs, they really cause her to ask her wealthy friend for a necklace. Now here's the thing, when we just read before earlier, she really didn't want to be around her friends, and she barely went. She always felt so sad. So now she's going to go over and kind of turn the tables around and say, oh, I have somewhere to go. Can I wear this necklace? She saw some bracelets and a pearl necklace and a Venetian gold cross set with precious stones and admirable workmanship. She tried on the ornaments before the mirror, hesitated, and could not make up her mind to part with them, to give them back. She kept asking, haven't you any more? Why, yes. Look further. I don't know what you like. And suddenly she discovered in a black satin box a superb diamond necklace, and her heart throbbed with an immoderate desire. Her hands trembled as she took it. She fastened it round her throat outside the high-necked waist and was lost in ecstasy at her reflection in the mirror. She says, will you lend me this? Only this. Why, yes, certainly. She threw her arms around her friend's neck, kissed her passionately, then fled with the treasure. Okay, the night of the ball, Mademoiselle was a great success. So they had a time. They were triumphant. The beauty, the glory of the success. He threw over her shoulders the wraps he had brought, the modest wraps of common life, the poverty of which contrasted with the elegance of the ball dress. She felt this and wished to escape so as not to be remarked by other women who were enveloping themselves in costly furs. Loisel held her back, saying, wait a bit, you will catch cold outside, I'll call a cab. But she did not listen to him and rapidly descended the stairs. When they reached the street, they could not find a carriage and began to look for one, shouting after the cabman passing at a distance. They went toward the sign in despair, shivering with cold. At last, I went back. A lot of people call that Seine. She went at the scene. At last, they found on the quay of those ancient night cabs, which, as they were ashamed to show their shabbiness during the day, are never seen around Paris until after dark. They took them to their dwelling in the Rue des Martyrs, and sadly they mounted the stairs to their flat. All was ended for her. As to him, he reflected that he must be at the ministry at 10 o'clock in the morning. She removed her wraps before the glass so to see herself once more in her glory, but suddenly she uttered a cry. She no longer had the necklace around her neck. What's the matter with you? Demanded her husband, already half undressed. She turned distractedly to him. I've lost Madame Forcier's necklace. What? How? Impossible. They looked around among the folds of skirt, her cloak, and her pockets everywhere, but did not find it. So let's go back to our writing and discuss this. Like, what does that even say? She is more concerned about this necklace than having her own situation. So I'm sorry you're seeing my screen instead of this, but let's go back and let's kind of stop here and let's write. Now, we left off last time on this. She appeared ungrateful, but this is the part that I've added in, that the ingratitude caused her to ask her wealthy friend for a necklace. You can clean this up. You can say cause her to request a necklace from her wealthy friend, if your professors are asking you for that. And so you would just change this word to request. Cause her to request a necklace from her. You could even make it more symbolic. Request expensive jewelry. Okay, a necklace from her friend. Now, here is another ironic incident. Her Mademoiselle's inability to separate her husband's desire to make her pleasant caused her to become unpleasant. And then you're going to go and build from there. Okay, how she became unpleasant, because the necklace being lost is just one layer of what's happening. Okay, the fact that they want to repay the necklace, and you can already see Guy de Maupassant is already like bringing up this concept of, oh God, she lost this expensive necklace. And if you're not familiar with the story, you'll turn around and you'll say, oh Jesus, what's she going to tell the friend? Is their friendship gone? Let's get into that. Something else we want to get into here is, like, when she was up here borrowing the necklace, uh, she never thought this might be, she found the black satin box. She's so excited to go to this. She never looked at like the negative outcome. If I lose this expensive thing, I'm going to own my husband's savings. I'm going to own this and that. A lot of us in the real world who weren't so ecstatic about it would probably say, okay, I don't want to borrow this. Let me borrow the pearl. That way, if I lose it, I only owe you about $100, $200, $300. Okay, this didn't happen. Okay, and this is what he did. He went back out on foot. Sorry. Okay. He went back out on foot looking for this necklace. And her husband returned about 7 o'clock. He found nothing. He went to the police headquarters to newspapers for a reward. In fact, Loisel returned at night with a hollow, pale face. He had discovered nothing. You must write to your friend, said he, that you had broken the clasp of the necklace and that you were having it mended. This will give us time to turn it round. She wrote this in dictation. At the end of the week, they had lost hope. Loisel, who had aged 5 years, and this is a metaphor. Okay, she hasn't aged 5 years quite. The next day, they took the box that contained it, went to the jeweler whose name was found and he could sell the books. Oh, it was not I, madam, who sold the necklace. I must have simply just furnished the case. Then they went from jeweler to jeweler, searching for a necklace like the other, trying to recall it, both with chagrin and grief. They found a shop at the Palace Royal, a string of diamonds that seemed to them exactly like the one they had lost. It was 40,000 francs. They could have it for 36. So they begged the jeweler not to sell it for 3 days, and they made a bargain that he should buy it back for 34,000 in case they should find the lost necklace before the end of February. Loisel possessed 18,000 francs, which his father had left him. He would borrow the rest. He did borrow, asking 1,000 francs of one, 5,000 of another, 5 louis here, 3 louis there. He gave notes, took up ruinous obligations, dealing with usurers and all the race of lenders. He compromised all the rest of his life, risking signing a note without even knowing whether he could meet it, and frightened by the trouble yet to come, by the black misery that was about to fall upon him, by the prospect of all the physical privations and moral tortures that he was about to suffer. He went to get the new necklace laying upon the jeweler's counter, 36,000 francs. When Mademoiselle took back the necklace, Madame Forestier said to her with a chilling manner, "You should have returned it sooner. I might have needed it." She did not open the case, as her friend had so much feared. If she detected the substitution, what would she have thought? What would she have said? Would she have not taken Mademoiselle for a thief? Thereafter, Mademoiselle knew the horrible existence of the needy. She bore her part, however, with sudden heroism. That dreadful debt must be paid. She would pay it. They dismissed their servant. They changed their lodgings. They rented a garret under the roof. She came to know what heavy housework meant. In the odious cares of the kitchen, she washed the dishes, used her dainty fingers and rosy nails on greasy pots and pans. She washed soiled linen and shirts and dishcloths which she had dried upon a line. She carried the slops down the street every morning and carried up the water, stopping for breath at every landing, and dressed like a woman of the people. She went to the fruiterer, the grocer, the butcher, a basket on her arm, bargaining, meeting with impertinence, defending her miserable money sou by sou every month. They had to meet some notes, renew others, obtain more time. Her husband worked evenings, making up a tradesman's accounts, and late at night he copied manuscript for 5 sous a page. This life lasted 10 years. At the end of 10 years, they paid everything with the rates of usury and the accumulations of compound interest. So let's go back to this, and let's go back to what we're writing, and let's see what's happening. Okay, so this is how we get into explaining how she became unpleasant. Obviously, she and her husband slaved for 10 years to replace a necklace that Mademoiselle wore for one night. You can change around, these verbs. If you don't like the word slaved, you could write like worked hard, worked, plastically, worked this and that and other and this. And now you're getting like the senselessness of this one ball and what happened. And Guy de Maupassant is great for having multiple ironies. But now you're beginning to see how to build this. And we've done one sentence here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't have to get into the irony right now of how Mademoiselle and Madame Forestier met again and the necklace was not real. We can instead turn around and go on to the next page, and we can say similarly, that's not a 5, that is an S. And I tell you what, I'm going to go on the other page and go ahead and this, but I wanted to use this page here to let you know that we're going to get into Akaki Akevich, which is from Nicole Gogol's The Overcoat.